Frequent flyer flies, la 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 la. Frequent flyer is back.
What's up? You checking out the Frequent Flyer, and I don't know if you guys can hear that in the background, but it's raining outside, and so that's what that noise is. And before that, it was snowing a bunch, and before that, it's been cold all week, so not very good weather outdoors. Right about this time is when these little things, tiny RCs, become more popular, because indoors is where it's at. And so this is the Diatone Q33 176 scale kart racing RC car. And so this little guy comes in an FPV form. I think that's most popular, but I opted to get the one without FPV and without the transmitter, because I watched another channel and they were reviewing this guy and they were talking about the transmitter, and the transmitter didn't look like it was good at all, because this little guy runs the FlySky AF-HDS protocol. And so I opted to get a different transmitter. So this is a nicer transmitter, and I thought that that was going to help with the steering problems that people have been having with this guy. And sad to say that this guy is just plagued with negative things about the steering that I have to say. And so, for one, as you guys can see, the tires are pretty fat and wide. There's a lot of rubber in these tires, but they don't have any treads in them. And so that leads to this guy slipping and sliding all over the floor. Not to mention that it's a little back heavy, because the wheels on the rear are larger than the wheels in the front, and I think the battery is about here in the middle. And so a lot of times there's not much weight on the front of this guy, and so it doesn't really steer that well, especially on a smooth surface, because of these smooth tires. They're wide, but they're pretty smooth. And so a lot of times when you turn all the way in one direction, you end up just still sliding along forward. And so that is one thing that plagues this guy. It actually has a buggy steering. The steering, it won't turn when you hit the turn, or sometimes it just won't turn deep enough. Even if you get this guy turning all the way, the turn radius isn't that small. So the turn radius, the turning is way too wide in order to run this guy on a little track. I was disappointed, because that's the main reason that I got this guy. It's not really a scale car. It looks like a kart, you know, just like a little Mario Kart. It reminds me of something like that. But this guy doesn't drive well. It can't drive on my little tracks. I thought I was going to be racing. I was going to have another car to be racing against these guys. This is my favorite right now, and I have these. You guys who frequent the channel a lot know that I love these 176 scale RC cars from Turbo Racing. I absolutely love these things, and so when I heard about these, I thought that this was going to be as good, but I'm highly disappointed in the way that this guy drives. It doesn't turn well. It's kind of buggy, and the quality doesn't seem that good at all. And so let me turn this guy on so you guys can see. Let me bind it. So this guy runs the FlySky protocol that I mentioned earlier in the video. So if you get your own transmitter, you can just get this one for 50 bucks and get you a nice transmitter. Or if you already have a transmitter that runs that protocol, you can bind it easily. And so how you bind it is you hold that. First you have to turn it on by holding this button down, and then once it's on, you have to hold down the button again until it starts flashing there, and that's how you bind it. But mine is already bound, so I'm going to turn it off and then turn it back on. So it's bound to this transmitter here, and check out how it sounds. It sounds like a bunch of racket is going on when you're running it, actually. So I guess that's probably just nitpicking. Some people might think that I'm nitpicking by ragging on that, but it just sounds like rubbish to me. And the way that it drives is just not as good as these. These are little precise machines, and I think that's what the draw is to these little guys, is that they're tiny and they're precise and all, and they're, you know, they're hobby grade little vehicles here. I forgot to mention that this does have proportional steering and variable throttle, just like those do, but it's just not that precise. It's buggy again, the steering. Man, I'm just disappointed with it. It's a little back heavy as well. I was thinking since it didn't have the camera on it that it was going to be a little better with the front wheels touching the floor, and it's not. I think the problem is probably part of the problem is probably them having this rear wheel larger than the front wheel here, and so it's kind of fast. It might be a little faster than this one, but both of them are comparably faster than this one. But anyhow, when you slam on the throttle with this guy, I think the wheel being larger in the back kind of lifts it up a little. And so it's just a bad combination with not having any threads on the tires. The tires are wide and smooth on the bottom with no treads. And so that makes it slip. And then you have the buggy steering to deal with. And then you have the fact that the wheel in the back is larger and it kind of lifts up a little. And so a lot of times, even on open floor, when you're going forward and you turn all the way in one direction, this guy will keep sliding forward, even if you're moving slow. And so very disappointed in the way that this guy drives. It doesn't turn tight enough to even drive on my car's tracks that I built for these guys here. So I have no chance if I choose this car. It just doesn't have a tight enough turn to drive around the track comfortably. And so just disappointed with it, the way it drives. Let me show you guys a little bit of the turn radius. So the turns are wide. I can barely like navigate around in here. Let me see, they're a little tighter than that. Especially in one direction. It actually turns in one direction harder than it does in the other direction. And here's an example of the turning being buggy. Check it out. It's stuck in one direction. And this happens a lot. It just gets stuck on me. And so there it is. So I snapped it back in place now. So now it's going to turn for me, I guess. So check it out. So pretty wide turn. It can barely navigate around on this small desk here. Check it out. Yeah, see the turn, and I have it turned all the way. And I think part of that is that it's smooth on the bottom. It slides a little, but going slow like that, it's not sliding too much. The turn radius is just too wide. The turning is just too wide on this guy. But it's pretty fast though. So it can run over rugs if your rugs are not too high, because it does have these large wheels on it. But I just can't have a lot of fun with this guy. It's night and day between these two. This one is my favorite for sure, and I like these as well. But this one, I really don't think I'm going to be running this one. Maybe I might add FPV to this, because this little piece here does come off, and you can stick a camera on top of here, and there'll be a hole in there for you to run the wire. If you're going to get this guy, get the FPV version, and you're going to be able to run it on the floor. Maybe an open floor would be better with FPV. But do not buy this thing thinking that you're going to FPV on one of the small tracks that you made, because it's not going to work. Your turn is going to be way too wide. And don't buy it in this form thinking that you're going to race on the track because of the same reason. You can remove the top cover here by removing those two screws in the back. And that's how you can get to the inside and all. If you wanted to add a camera, you're going to have to do some soldering. This here looks like a bind plug, like the ones that exist on these two guys, but it's not. This is actually the charging port there, and that's a negative for me because it's sort of a proprietary charging thing, I guess, because you have to use a JST. This is the JST connection that you have to use for charging. And so these little guys here use USB Type C, and so it's a little more universal with the charging on those. And so you just plug this in here, and it starts to pulse slowly like that to let you know that it's charging. And once it's done charging, the lights will go solid, or they will turn off. I can't remember which one. But this guy has a pretty decent runtime. Runtime on this is probably close to the same on that one, but I haven't run this really all the way to the end of the battery because it's just not a lot of fun for me. On the floor, it slides around, the steering being buggy and all, not being that precise, not being able to run on the tracks that I have. It's just not a good experience for me. I was highly disappointed with this guy. Even with the good transmitter, it just runs like this. I think that's just a characteristic of this car. Hopefully they will improve it and make it better. But for now, I would advise people to steer away from that one and stick with these little guys. If you're going to have fun on the floor, I would say run this guy, purchase this one. And if you're thinking about a track, you can run this guy here on the track pretty nicely. Even the older ones, the tinier ones, I don't have one close to me right now, but those are awesome on the tracks or whatnot. And even this one you can run on a track, but I think it's a little wide for my tracks. I did build another track for this guy to run on that's a little wider and all, but I would say both of those would be my choice over this one. This one I wouldn't buy at all because it's pretty buggy and all of the things that I mentioned about it is the reason why I don't like this thing. I really don't like it. And so it doesn't have any lights or anything, just those lights on the bottom there for charging and all. It doesn't look like a real car, a scale car. I was thinking that I can get past the fact that it doesn't look like a scale car. It looks sort of like a Mario Kart racing or something like that. But I was thinking that I could get past that if I was able to run it on my track. And I was very interested in seeing how this matches up with these on the track. But this one can't even run on the track. And so I would steer clear of this one. The Diatone Q33 line of sight version. Not really that good. Come on, guys. Get us some threads on the tires. Maybe make the tires a little skinnier. And make the tires the same size, man. To get rid of the fact that it's heavy a little on the back and the front wheels barely touch. The Diatone Q33 kart racing RC car. Thanks for watching.